All right, let's get right into it. I'm going to make a pretty bold claim here. You are probably thinking about dopamine completely wrong. Yeah, we hear that word all the time, right? But what if I told you a simple little misunderstanding about it is what's holding you back from real focus and motivation? Well, today, we're going to fix that.
So here's the big mix-up. Almost all of us were taught that dopamine is the pleasure molecule, right? It's the little treat our brain gets after we do something good. But it turns out the science tells a totally different and way more useful story. See, it's not really about the pleasure of the reward at all. It's the anticipation molecule. It's that craving, that drive, the thing that pushes you before you even get the prize. And trust me, getting this one difference is the key to everything.
So how does this whole anticipation thing actually work inside our heads? Well, the entire system, the whole shebang, hinges on this fascinating concept called a prediction error. And no, that doesn't mean your brain made a mistake. It's actually a super powerful signal for learning and for getting things done.
And this brings us to the incredible work of a scientist named Wolfram Schultz. He's the one who figured out this whole reward prediction error thing. And it is the absolute core of our motivation system. It's super simple, really. It's just the gap between what you thought was going to happen and what actually happened. And it's that gap, that little bit of surprise that your brain is obsessed with.
Just think about it like this for a second. Your brain is constantly making these little predictions, right? Little bets about how things are going to turn out. But the real magic, the sweet spot, happens when the outcome is even better than you thought it would be.
That's when you get what scientists call a positive prediction error. You can just think of it as a big +1 for your brain. Reality was better than you expected, even just by a little bit. And that is the trigger, that moment of surprise, that feeling of, whoa, that went better than I thought. That's what flings open the dopamine floodgates. It's your brain screaming, hey, pay attention. Whatever you just did, do that again.
Okay, so now for the best part. This isn't just some random thing that happens to us. We can actually take the steering wheel. We can consciously hijack this reward system and use it to our advantage. Basically, to create motivation whenever we want.
That's right. You don't have to just sit around and wait for some happy accident to get motivated. You can actually manufacture these little bursts of focus for yourself. And the best part, it is shockingly easy to do.
So how do we actually do this? It's a simple little technique called the micro-win method. First, you take that big, scary task you've been putting off. Then, and this is the absolute key, you define one ridiculously small, almost laughably easy subtask. I'm talking open the laptop, or write just the subject line of the email. Then you just do it, and bam, in that little moment of completion, you've just created a positive prediction error. You've finished something. That small, unexpected victory is what gives you that hit of dopamine.
And here is where it all clicks into place. You might be thinking, why bother with all this for a tiny dopamine buzz? Because it's not about feeling good for a second. The real payoff, the real prize, is what that dopamine does next.
This quote just says it all perfectly. That little micro win you just created, it triggers a dopamine spike that literally becomes the fuel for your next half hour of focused work. See, it's not the trophy at the end of the finish line, it's the high-octane fuel you put in the tank to get the race started.
So let's tie this all together. It's time to completely forget dopamine as the pleasure molecule. From now on, I want you to think of it as the molecule of drive. By creating these tiny, intentional micro-wins, you're not chasing a feeling. You are actively generating the neurological fuel you need to do the hard stuff that actually matters.
So, I'll leave you with this one simple question. Think about that big project on your to-do list, the one you keep avoiding. What is the smallest, easiest, most ridiculously tiny first step you could take? What's your first micro-win gonna be? Figure it out, and then go do it, right now.